The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I sat across from my sister Serena in the conference room, staring at the stack of documents that would destroy my life. My hands trembled as I flipped through page after page of fabricated transactions, each one meticulously crafted to make me look like a criminal. "I don't understand," I whispered, my voice cracking. "These aren't my signatures. I never authorized these transfers. My name is Lexi, and until yesterday, I was a rising star at Goldman Sachs. Now, I'm watching my entire world crumble around me." Serena's face remained impassive, her designer blazer perfectly pressed, not a hair out of place. "The evidence speaks for itself, sis. $20 million siphoned through offshore accounts over the past 18 months, all traced back to you." "This is insane. You know I would never—" The words caught in my throat as two FBI agents entered the room, followed by our mother, her eyes red and swollen. "Mom, please," I pleaded. "You know me. I've always taken care of everyone. Why would I do this?" She wouldn't meet my eyes. Instead, she clutched her purse closer, as if I might try to steal that too. The next few weeks passed in a blur of courtrooms, lawyers, and crushing disappointment. Despite my desperate attempts to prove my innocence, the evidence was overwhelming. Serena had done her homework well. Every transaction, every document, every digital footprint pointed to me. The judge's gavel came down like a death sentence. 5 years in federal prison. I caught a glimpse of Serena in the courtroom, her face a perfect mask of sisterly concern. But for a split second, our eyes met, and I saw it. That flicker of satisfaction, of victory. That's when I knew. This wasn't just about money. This was revenge. 3 months later, I stood in the prison yard of FCI Danbury, my orange jumpsuit still stiff and new. The weight of my ID badge felt foreign against my chest, a constant reminder of how far I'd fallen. "Fresh meat, huh?" A voice behind me made me jump. I turned to face a tall woman with salt and pepper hair and arms covered in tattoos. "I'm Angela, and you look like you don't belong here." I laughed bitterly. "That's what I keep telling everyone." "Let me guess. White-collar crime? Embezzlement?" Angela's eyes were sharp, assessing. "Wrongly accused," I corrected her. "Aren't we all?" She smirked, but there was something knowing in her expression. "Your case made the papers. Valdez sisters, right? The banker who stole from her family's business?" I flinched at the reminder. "I didn't steal anything. My sister—" "Set you up?" Angela finished. "Yeah, I figured. Your sister's got quite a reputation in certain circles. She's not as clever as she thinks she is." My head snapped up. "What do you mean?" Angela glanced around the yard before lowering her voice. "Let's just say, before I ended up here, I worked in forensic accounting. Your sister's been playing a much bigger game than just framing you. But she made mistakes. They always do." For the first time since my arrest, I felt a spark of hope. "What kind of mistakes?" "Not here," Angela said, nodding toward the guards. "But if you're interested in learning more, meet me in the library tomorrow. I've got some things you might want to see." That night, lying on my thin prison mattress, I stared at the ceiling, thinking about Serena, my perfect, precious older sister, who'd always resented living in my shadow. While she struggled to keep jobs and relationships, I'd excelled in my career, supported our family, earned our parents' pride. Now she'd taken everything from me: my freedom, my reputation, my future. My cellmate's snores filled the darkness as I made a decision. If Serena thought prison would break me, she was wrong. I'd use this time to learn, to plan, to understand exactly how she destroyed my life. And then, I'd return the favor. The next morning, I watched the sunrise through barred windows, my mind clearer than it had been in months. Angela was right. Serena wasn't as clever as she thought. She'd made mistakes, left traces, and with nothing but time on my hands, I would find them all. As I walked to breakfast, another inmate called out, "Hey, banker girl, heard your sister's been making waves on Wall Street. Big merger announcement yesterday." My steps faltered. Of course. While I rotted in prison, Serena would be climbing the corporate ladder, probably using the same dirty tricks that had put me here. You okay? Angela appeared beside me, her presence somehow reassuring. I will be, I said, straightening my shoulders. Once I learn everything you know about my sister's mistakes. Angela's smile was wolf-like. Trust me, kid. By the time we're done, your sister won't know what hit her. For the first time since my arrest, I smiled back. Serena had taught me an important lesson. Family ties can strangle you. But she'd forgotten something crucial. I was always the quick learner in the family. The prison library smelled like old books and desperation. Angela sat across from me, spreading out photocopied documents across the scratched wooden table. Your sister's good, she said, pointing to a complex web of transactions. But not good enough. See these transfers? They're almost identical to the ones she used to frame you. I leaned forward, squinting at the numbers. These dates, these are from years ago. Exactly. Your sister's been playing this game long before she targeted you. The question is, why didn't she get caught? Because she had help, a new voice chimed in. We looked up to see a woman in her 30s with sharp features and intelligent eyes. I'm Selena, former corporate lawyer, currently serving time for, well, let's just say I know exactly how these schemes work. Angela nodded. Selena's been helping me piece this together. Your sister's got friends in high places, Lexi. People who look the other way when the numbers don't add up. My hands clenched into fists. So what you're saying is, even if I found proof, it wouldn't matter? Not necessarily, Selena said, sliding into the chair next to me. You just need to know where to look and who to trust. Speaking of which, have you been in touch with anyone from your old life? I thought of Braden, my former colleague who still wrote to me weekly. Maybe. Why? Because we're going to need outside help, Angela said. Someone who can access records we can't get in here. A guard walked past, and we quickly shuffled the papers into a random book. When he was gone, Selena leaned closer. There's something else you should know, she whispered. Your sister's been visiting another inmate here, Jayla Hernandez. My eyebrows shot up. What? Why? That's what we need to find out, Angela said. Jayla's in my work detail. I can introduce you. Later that day, I met Jayla in the laundry room. She was younger than I expected, with a quick smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. So you're the famous little sister, she said, folding sheets with practiced efficiency. Serena talks about you a lot. Does she now? I matched her movements, keeping my voice casual. Funny, I didn't know she had friends in here. Jayla snorted. Friends? Honey, your sister doesn't have friends. She has investments. And right now, I'm her favorite investment. What does that mean? It means, Jayla lowered her voice, that your sister's planning something big. Something that needs someone with my particular skills once I get out next month. My heart raced. What kind of skills? The kind that got me in here. Let's just say I know how to make money disappear. Jayla glanced around before continuing. Your sister's scared, Lexi. She's covering her tracks, preparing for something, and she's getting sloppy. That night, I couldn't sleep. Angela's words kept echoing in my head. Your sister's not as clever as she thinks she is. The next morning, during yard time, I found myself surrounded by my growing circle of allies. Angela, Selena, and Jayla had become my unlikely support system. I got a letter from my contact at the SEC, Selena said, keeping her voice low. They're starting to notice irregularities in your family's company financials. Your sister's latest moves have caught their attention. But why now? I wondered aloud. Why is she taking these risks? Because of you, Angela said simply. You're her weak spot, Lexi. As long as you're in here, there's a chance you might figure things out. She's trying to secure her position before you can expose her. Then we need to move faster, I said, determination settling in my gut. Jayla, what exactly did my sister ask you to do when you get out? Jayla smiled wickedly. She wants me to help her move some money offshore. Big money. The kind of transaction that leaves traces, no matter how careful you are. Perfect, Selena said. That's our way in. But we'll need your friend on the outside, Lexi, the one you mentioned. I thought of Braden, his loyal letters, his unwavering belief in my innocence. He'll help, but I need to know something first. Why are you all helping me? Angela's face hardened. Because your sister's type gives all of us a bad name. The ones who think they're above the law, who use and discard people like tissues. Sometimes karma needs a little push. Besides, Jayla added, watching rich people destroy each other is quality entertainment in here. I laughed despite myself, feeling stronger than I had in months. My sister might have put me in prison, but she'd accidentally given me something valuable. A team of women who knew exactly how to bring down someone like her. Okay, I said, pulling out a piece of paper. Let's make a plan. Jayla, tell me everything my sister asked you to do. Every detail matters. As my new friends gathered around, I realized something important. In trying to break me, Serena had actually made me stronger, and soon she'd learn exactly what that meant. Your boy Braden came through, Angela announced, sliding a torn envelope across the metal cafeteria table. These are copies of your sister's recent transactions. My hands trembled as I opened it, careful to keep the contents hidden from passing guards. Inside were printouts of financial records, each one a potential piece of evidence against Serena. Look at the dates, Selena pointed out, pretending to eat her tasteless meatloaf. 3 major transfers, all within days of your arrest. She's getting cocky, Jayla added, joining our table. Yesterday's visit was interesting. She's planning to move $50 million through shell companies next month. Wanted to make sure I remembered our arrangement when I get out. I stared at my untouched food. $50 million? That's more than double what she framed me for. Where's she getting that kind of money? From your family's company, a new voice whispered. We turned to see Maria, a quiet inmate who worked in the prison's administrative office. I overheard a phone call while cleaning. Your stepfather Ramon's business is in trouble. Big trouble. My stomach dropped. What kind of trouble? The kind that ends with bankruptcy if someone doesn't stop the bleeding. Maria glanced nervously at the guards. Your mother called the prison yesterday, asking to visit. She sounded desperate. Looks like Big Sis is taking down the whole family, Angela said grimly. Question is, does she care? Before I could respond, the lunch bell rang. As we filed out, Selena pulled me aside. Your mother's visit is scheduled for tomorrow. Are you ready? I hadn't seen Mom since the trial. Ready as I'll ever be. The next day, I sat across from her in the visitation room. She looked older, tired, her usually perfect makeup unable to hide the dark circles under her eyes. Lexi, she whispered, reaching for my hands across the table. I don't know what to do anymore. The company. Ramon's health. What's happening, Mom? Tell me everything. She wiped her eyes. Ramon had a minor heart attack last week. The stress. Serena's been making these decisions at work, taking out loans, moving money around. Nothing makes sense anymore. And you're just letting her? She's the only one left. Mom's voice cracked. With you in here, she said she could fix everything, but it's getting worse. Ramon doesn't trust her, but he's too sick to fight. I leaned forward. Mom, listen carefully. Serena's not fixing anything. She's stealing from the company, just like she framed me for stealing. No, Mom shook her head. She wouldn't. She would, and she is. I can prove it, but I need your help. Will you trust me? One last time? After Mom left, I met my crew in the prison chapel, the one place we could talk without arousing suspicion. Your mother's in, I told them. She'll get us Ramon's banking records. Good, Selena said. Because Jayla's release is in 2 weeks and we need everything in place before then. Jayla nodded. Serena's expecting me to help her with the transfers as soon as I'm out. Little does she know, I'll be helping someone else instead. Just be careful, Angela warned. Women like your sister, they don't take betrayal well. Trust me, I learned that lesson the hard way. I turned to her. You never told me your story. Angela's face darkened. Let's just say I used to work with someone like Serena. Trusted her, covered for her. When things went south, she made sure I took the fall. Sound familiar? Too familiar, I muttered. The difference is, Angela continued, you've got us, and we've got something better than money or connections. What's that? Nothing left to lose. She smiled grimly. Makes us dangerous. Later that night, I received another letter from Braden. Inside was a USB drive, somehow smuggled past security. Found something interesting, his letter read. Your sister's been meeting with some shady characters. Got photos. Also, remember that merger she announced? It's built on fake numbers. The whole thing's a house of cards. I showed the letter to Selena during our morning walk. This is it, she said excitedly. The merger's her weak point. If it falls apart, everything else comes crashing down. Including my family's company, I reminded her. Sometimes you have to break something completely to rebuild it right, she said softly. Question is, are you ready to be the one who breaks it? I watched the sunrise through the prison fence, thinking about Mom's tired face, Ramon's heart attack, and Serena's smug satisfaction. Yes, I said finally, but we do this smart. No one else gets hurt except Serena. Angela joined us, her face serious. That's not how revenge works, kid. There's always collateral damage. Then we minimize it, I insisted. Focus on the merger. That's her project, her reputation. When it falls apart, she'll have nowhere to hide. 2 weeks, Jayla reminded us, passing by. Make them count. I nodded, feeling the weight of the USB drive in my pocket. 2 weeks to save my family's company, clear my name, and make Serena face the consequences of her actions. The countdown had begun. Your sister's getting married, Mom announced during our next visit, her voice flat. To the CEO of the company she's merging with. The wedding's next month. I nearly choked on my water. What? His name's Marcus. They've apparently been dating in secret for months. Mom's hands twisted nervously in her lap. She says it's love, but Ramon thinks... It's about the merger, I finished. Of course it is. Everything's about business with Serena. Back in the common room, I shared the news with Angela and Selena. This changes everything, Selena said, her legal mind already working. Marriage means shared assets, shared liability. She's not just securing the merger, she's protecting herself. Or setting up her next victim, Angela added. Did some digging through my old contacts. This Marcus guy? His first wife died under suspicious circumstances. Insurance paid out big. My blood ran cold. You think Serena knows? Honey, I think that's exactly why she chose him. Angela leaned closer. Birds of a feather, right? A guard approached, and we quickly switched to discussing the latest prison book club selection. When he passed, Selena pulled out a newspaper. Look at this, she whispered, pointing to a business article. The merger announcement caused both companies' stocks to soar. Your sister and her fiancé just became paper millionaires. Paper millionaires with fake numbers, I reminded her. Braden's proof shows the merger's built on lies. Speaking of Braden, Angela said, he sent another message through my contact. The SEC's starting their audit next week. Serena doesn't know yet. I smiled. Perfect timing. Jayla gets out tomorrow. That night, we had our final meeting with Jayla in the laundry room. She'd memorized every detail of her role in our plan. Serena thinks I'm meeting her associate tomorrow night, Jayla said, folding her last prison uniform. Instead, I'm meeting with Braden and his SEC friend. Everything I know about her operation, every detail she shared during her visits, it all goes on record. Be careful, I warned. She's more dangerous than ever now. Jayla laughed. Please, I grew up in the Bronx. Your sister doesn't scare me. The next morning, we watched Jayla walk to freedom. Hours later, my mother visited again, this time with documents hidden in her Bible. Ramon's personal records, she whispered. Bank statements, loan applications, everything. Some of these signatures, they don't look right. I studied the papers, because Serena forged them, just like she forged mine. Mom's face crumpled. How did we not see it, all these years? Because she's family, I said softly. We see what we want to see. That afternoon, Selena received news through her legal channels. The SEC's moved up their audit. They're going in tomorrow. What? Why? Because your sister's fiancé just tried to move a massive amount of money offshore. They're spooked. Angela cursed. She's rushing the plan. Jayla must have spooked her. I paced our small meeting space. We need to warn Braden. If they're destroying evidence... Already done, Selena said. He's got copies of everything. Plus, your mother's documents prove the forgeries. It's all falling into place. But something felt wrong. I knew my sister. It's too easy. Serena always has a backup plan. Right on cue, Maria rushed in. Emergency call for you, Lexi. It's Ramon. He's had another heart attack. The world tilted. I ran to the phone room, my hands shaking as I picked up the receiver. Hello, little sister. Serena's voice was silk over steel. Shame about Ramon, isn't it? Stress is such a killer. What did you do? Me? Nothing. But it's amazing how quickly health can deteriorate when someone's worried about losing everything. She paused. Call off the SEC audit, Lexi, or next time, Ramon might not be so lucky. You're threatening our stepfather? Your own family? Family? She laughed bitterly. Was it family when you became Dad's favorite? When you got the education I deserved? When everyone praised perfect little Lexi while I had to claw my way up? So this is all about jealousy? This is about what's mine. Back off or Ramon pays the price. You have 1 hour to decide. The line went dead. I stood there, gripping the phone, until Angela found me. Bad news? She asked, taking in my face. Serena's threatening Ramon's life. She wants me to stop the audit. Angela's expression hardened. Then we hit her harder, fast and public before she can hurt anyone else. How? Your sister's wedding announcement just hit the society pages. Everyone's watching. What better time to expose her? I thought about Ramon in the hospital, Mom's tired face, all the lives Serena had ruined. Make the calls, I said. It ends now. As Angela left to set things in motion, I stared out the prison window. Tomorrow, either my sister's empire would crumble or my family would pay the ultimate price. The game had changed. Now it wasn't just about revenge, it was about survival. The prison TV room erupted in chaos as the morning news broke. There on screen, federal agents were escorting people out of my family's company building. Breaking news, major financial fraud uncovered at prominent merger. The reporter's voice competed with excited inmate chatter. That's your sister, someone shouted, pointing at Serena's photo flashing across the screen. She looked perfect as always, even while hurrying to her car, shielding her face from cameras. Angela squeezed my shoulder. Braden came through. The SEC raid happened at dawn. My hands were shaking. Any word about Ramon? Stable, Selena said, joining us. Your mom called. He's being moved to a better hospital. Apparently, Marcus's company insurance is still covering him, for now. The news anchor continued. Sources say the investigation was triggered by evidence provided by a recently released inmate. I smiled, thinking of Jayla. She'd played her part perfectly. In related news, questions arise about the suspicious death of Marcus Reynolds' first wife. The TV clicked off suddenly. We turned to see a guard standing there. Valdez, warden wants to see you. Now. The warden's office was cold and sterile. She studied me over her glasses. Your sister's lawyer called. Says you orchestrated this whole thing from inside. That's ridiculous, I said calmly. I'm just an inmate serving my time. With a lot of interesting friends. She glanced at a file. A former forensic accountant, a corporate lawyer, and now this whistleblower who just got released. Quite the coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. The warden almost smiled. Indeed. Well, unless they can prove you violated any prison regulations, there's not much they can do. But watch yourself, Valdez. Your sister's got powerful friends. Back in my cell, I found a letter from Braden waiting. It's worse than we thought, he wrote. Serena and Marcus were planning to empty both companies' pension funds after the merger. Thousands of people would have lost everything. But that's not all. Marcus's first wife? Police are reopening the case. Your sister's fingerprints are all over the insurance policy changes made weeks before the accident. Holy shit, Angela whispered, reading over my shoulder. Your sister's not just a fraudster, she's a murderer, I finished, feeling sick. Or at least an accomplice. Selena burst into the cell, breaking prison protocol. Turn on the radio, now. Through static, we heard Marcus's voice at a press conference. Completely shocked by these allegations, I assure you, I had no knowledge of my fiancé's actions. Our merger plans are indefinitely suspended. He's throwing her under the bus, Angela said. just like she did to you. My cell door slammed open. Another guard. Phone call, Valdez, your mother. Mom was crying when I picked up. She's gone, Lexi. Serena cleaned out all the accounts this morning. Everything. The company reserves, Ramon's medical fund, even my personal savings. She's disappeared. My knees buckled. What? The police say she probably left the country. They found evidence she's been planning this for months. The merger, the wedding. It was all a distraction. I gripped the phone tighter. Mom, I'm so sorry. I never meant... Don't. Her voice hardened. Don't apologize. You tried to warn us about her for years. We just didn't want to see it. After the call, I returned to find Angela and Selena in intense discussion with Maria. Your sister was spotted at a private airfield 3 hours ago, Maria said. My cousin works security there. She had 2 suitcases and a fake passport. She's running, Selena said. Classic exit strategy. She probably has accounts set up in countries without extradition. But she made a mistake, Angela added. A big one. Remember those photos Braden sent of her meeting shady characters? I nodded. One of them was an undercover FBI agent. They've been building a case against Marcus for months. Your sister just walked right into their investigation. My heart raced. So even if she escapes, she'll never be safe, Selena finished. The FBI doesn't give up on cases like this. That night, lying in my bunk, I received one final surprise, a letter from Serena herself. Dear perfect little sister, it read. Congratulations. You won this round, but remember, you're still in prison while I'm sitting on millions. Was your revenge worth it? Worth destroying our family? At least I only took your freedom. You took everything from all of us. Sweet dreams, sis. Hope those prison bars feel like victory. Angela found me crying in the bathroom. Hey, don't let her get to you. That letter's just proof we got to her. But she's right, I whispered. Look what I've done to our family. No, Angela said firmly. Look what she did. You just exposed the truth. The rebuilding part, that comes next. And you'll be there for it. How? I'm still in here. Angela smiled mysteriously. About that. Selena's been talking to some lawyers. With all this new evidence, plus Jayla's testimony, let's just say your appeal is looking pretty good. For the first time in days, I felt hope flutter in my chest. Serena might have escaped with the money, but she'd lost something far more valuable, her power over me. The truth was finally out, and soon I would be too. All rise, the bailiff called out. 3 months had passed since Serena's disappearance, and I stood in the same courtroom where I'd been convicted, now facing my appeal hearing. My new lawyer, recommended by Selena, presented the mountain of evidence we'd gathered. Bank records, forged documents, Jayla's testimony, the FBI investigation findings. It all painted a clear picture of Serena's elaborate scheme. Your Honor, he concluded, my client was not only innocent, but a victim of a sophisticated frame job orchestrated by her sister, who is now a federal fugitive. The judge peered at me over her glasses. Ms. Valdez, this court owes you an apology. In light of the overwhelming evidence, your conviction is overturned. You are to be released immediately. The words didn't feel real until I walked out of prison that afternoon, wearing clothes Mom had brought. Angela, Selena, and Braden waited outside. First stop, Angela announced, hugging me. Real coffee. At the cafe, Braden updated me on the investigation. Interpol's tracked Serena to Dubai, but she's staying just ahead of them. The FBI's frozen most of her accounts, though. How much did she get away with? I asked. About 12 million, he said grimly. But the feds recovered almost 30 million in hidden accounts. It's being returned to the company and the pension funds. Speaking of the company, Selena added, Ramon called. He's back at work part-time, rebuilding what's left. The publicity actually brought in new investors who admire his resilience. I stirred my latte, real coffee finally, and asked the question that had been haunting me. Any leads on Marcus's first wife's death? Braden leaned forward. That's the biggest breakthrough. They found emails between Serena and Marcus from 2 years ago, long before the merger plans. They were plotting everything, the marriage, the merger, the theft. The wife's death was part of their test run. My stomach churned. So they're both going down for murder? If they catch them. Marcus disappeared the day after Serena, but he wasn't as careful. The FBI's closing in. Later that day, I visited our family home for the first time since my arrest. Mom had redecorated, removing all traces of Serena. Only one photo remained, our father's wedding picture, taken before he died. "I keep it to remember," Mom said, following my gaze. "How happy we were once, before Serena changed." "Was she always like this?" I asked. "Did we miss the signs?" Mom sank into her favorite chair. "She was different after your father died, angry that he left everything in trust for your education. She thought, as the oldest, she deserved more." "That doesn't justify what she did." "No," Mom agreed, "but understanding her darkness might help us avoid it in others." My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. My heart stopped when I read it. "Enjoying freedom, sis. Don't get too comfortable. You took my life, I'll take yours. Watch your back. S." I showed Mom the message. She immediately called the FBI agent handling our case. "They've traced it to Singapore," she told me after hanging up. "She's running out of places to hide." That evening, I met Jayla for dinner. She'd started a legitimate financial consulting business, helping ex-cons rebuild their lives. "Your sister contacted me," she said, sliding her phone across the table. "Offered me $2 million to help her move money again. I recorded the whole conversation for the feds." "You're not scared of her?" Jayla laughed. "Girl, I grew up with 5 brothers in the projects. Your sister's just a rich kid playing gangster. Besides," she gestured around the restaurant, "I'm legit now thanks to you. Got a real chance to help people." My phone buzzed again, another unknown number, but this time it was different. "It's Marcus. I want to make a deal. Serena's planning something big, something bad. Meet me?" I showed it to Jayla, who immediately texted Angela and Selena. "It's a trap," Angela replied instantly. "He's desperate, cornered. Don't trust him." But Selena had another view. "This could be our chance to end it. Let me contact my FBI friends. We can set up a sting." I stared at the message, thinking about Serena's threat. Maybe it was time to stop reacting and start acting. "Set it up," I texted back to Selena, "but on my terms." Jayla squeezed my hand. "You sure about this? You just got your freedom back." I thought about Mom's tired face, Ramon's recovery, all the people Serena and Marcus had hurt. Some things are worth risking freedom for. Besides, I managed to smile, I learned from the best in prison. That night, as I lay in my own bed for the first time in over a year, I received one final message, this one from Angela. "Remember what I taught you. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. But don't let the flames consume you. We've got your back." I closed my eyes, thinking about tomorrow's trap. Serena thought she could threaten me. She'd forgotten what she taught me herself. Sometimes the prey becomes the predator. Game on, big sister. Game on. The hotel lobby buzzed with quiet activity as I sat waiting, my coffee untouched. FBI agents posed as guests and staff, scattered throughout the space. Braden sat at the bar, pretending to work on his laptop. "Target approaching," a voice murmured through my hidden earpiece. "East entrance." Marcus walked in, looking nothing like his corporate photos. His designer suit was wrinkled, his face unshaven. Fear had aged him 10 years. "Lexi," he said, sliding into the chair across from me. "Thank you for meeting me." "Where is she?" He glanced nervously around. "Not here, but close. She's not the same person anymore. She's desperate." "Aren't you both?" "You don't understand." His hands shook as he leaned forward. "She's planning to take everything. The remaining company assets, the recovered funds, all of it. She has backdoor access to the systems." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because she's going to frame you again. One last job to destroy you completely." He pulled out his phone. "Look at these emails. She's federal agents." The lobby erupted in chaos as FBI teams moved in, but Marcus was faster. He bolted, knocking over our table. "He's running!" I shouted into my earpiece, chasing after him. "East stairwell." I followed him up 3 flights before he burst onto the roof. He ran to the edge, looking down. "It's over, Marcus," I called out. We know about your wife, about Singapore. He turned, wild-eyed. You think you know anything? Your sister? She makes me look amateur. Right now, she's probably already... His phone rang. He answered on speaker, hands trembling. Hello, darling. Serena's voice cold as ice. I see you've been talking to my sister. Tsk, tsk. Serena, please, he begged. We can still... Oh, Marcus, you never learned. Never trust anyone, especially not me. His phone pinged with a notification. His face went white. What did you do? Transferred everything. All our accounts, all our backup plans. Did you really think I'd share? She laughed. Goodbye, darling. Enjoy prison. The line went dead. Marcus stared at his phone in disbelief as FBI agents burst onto the roof. Marcus Reynolds, you're under arrest. As they led him away, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Your turn, sis. Check the business news in 3, 2, 1. My phone exploded with notifications. Breaking news alerts, messages from Mom, Braden, everyone. She's done it, Braden said, running up to the roof. Serena just emptied every account. The company's reserves, the recovered funds, everything. It's all gone. I felt the world spin. How? Those accounts were frozen. She had help on the inside, someone at the bank. He stopped as my phone rang again. Hi, Mom, I answered, dreading her words. Ramon's had another heart attack, she sobbed. The stress, when he saw the accounts. Lexi, he's in critical condition. I slid down the wall, legs giving out. Serena had won. Again. Back at the FBI office, agents scrambled to trace the transfers. The money's bouncing between accounts faster than we can track it, one agent explained. Your sister's got quite a network. Wait, Jayla said, studying the transaction patterns. I know these routes. They're the same ones she wanted me to use, which means... She grabbed a laptop, fingers flying over the keyboard. There! The money has to pass through this checkpoint in Hong Kong. We have maybe 3 hours before it clears. Can we stop it? I asked. Better. Selena smiled, hanging up her phone. My contacts in Hong Kong banking. They can redirect the funds. All of them. To where? Back to the victims, Angela said, walking in. Every penny she stole returned to the people she hurt. Perfectly legal, completely untraceable. But we need authorization from a company executive, Selena added. I pulled out my phone, calling Mom. Is Ramon conscious? We need his signature right now. 20 minutes later, Mom FaceTimed from Ramon's hospital room. His hand shook as he signed the digital authorization. Do it, he whispered. We watched the screens as billions in transactions reversed course. Company accounts refilled. Pension funds restored. Everything Serena tried to steal, returned. My phone buzzed one last time. Serena. You bitch, she hissed. You have no idea what you've done. No, Serena, you did this, all of it, and now you've got nothing. I still have 12 million they'll never find. Keep it, I said. Consider it the price of never coming back. Because if you do, everything we found about Marcus's wife goes public. Every email, every plan, every detail. Silence. You'd blackmail your own sister? I learned from the best. After hanging up, I looked around at my unlikely team. Angela, Selena, Jayla, Braden. They'd helped me turn victim into victory. Ramon stabilized, Mom texted. Doctor says he'll recover. I closed my eyes, exhausted, but relieved. We'd won. Not through revenge, but through justice. Come on, Angela said, helping me up. Let's go see your stepdad. Family's waiting. Family. Not the one Serena destroyed, but the one we'd built from the ashes. That was worth more than all the millions in the world. The autumn breeze rustled through the prison yard as I walked through the familiar gates, this time as a visitor. Angela waited in the meeting room, her face lighting up when she saw me. Look who's all corporate now, she teased, eyeing my business suit. The board meeting ran late, I explained, sitting down. We're finalizing the merger with that tech company I told you about. The legitimate kind of merger this time, complete with actual profits and everything. I smiled. Ramon's retiring next month. They voted me in as CEO. Angela leaned back, pride evident in her expression. From inmate to chief executive, you've come a long way, kid. Thanks to you, all of you. I pulled out some papers. Speaking of which, I have news. The prison reform initiative we started, it passed. Full funding for education and job training programs in women's prisons across the state. Selena's legal work paid off, huh? She's unstoppable. The foundation's already helped 30 former inmates start their own businesses. I paused. Including you soon. Your parole hearings next week. Got my speech ready and everything. Angela's eyes misted slightly. Never thought I'd get another chance. You gave me mine. Time to return the favor. The guard called time, but before I left, Angela grabbed my hand. Hey, any word from... Serena? Nothing since Dubai. FBI thinks she's in Southeast Asia now. Doesn't matter. She can't touch us anymore. Leaving the prison, I drove to the hospital where Jayla ran her weekly financial literacy workshop for recovering addicts. Ladies, she announced as I walked in, meet my friend Lexi, living proof that your past doesn't define your future. After the session, we grabbed coffee in the cafeteria. How's the new program going? I asked. Amazing. 10 of my students already opened their first legitimate bank accounts, she grinned. No more cash under mattresses. Mom would love to hear that. She's always saying... My phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart stopped until I read the message. Marcus took a plea deal. Full confession about everything, including Karen's death. Thought you should know. FBI agent Torres. I showed Jayla the text. Finally, justice for his first wife. And prison for life, she added. Bet your sister's loving that news. If she's heard it, she's gone dark since we took back the money. Good riddance. Jayla's face turned serious. You know she might try again someday. Let her try. We're stronger now. That evening, I visited Mom and Ramon at home. The house smelled of Mom's famous paella as Ramon showed me his retirement plans. Converting the garage into a workshop, he explained excitedly. Going to teach woodworking to troubled kids? From corporate shark to mentor, I teased. Who'd have thought? People change, Mom said, joining us. Sometimes for worse, like... She trailed off, still unable to say Serena's name. And sometimes for better, I finished, hugging her. The company's stronger than ever. Your grandkids' college funds are safe. I don't have any grandkids, she pointed out. Yet, I smiled. Brayden and I are talking about it. The doorbell rang. Selena burst in, waving papers. Just got word from my Hong Kong contact. Serena tried to access one of her old accounts. They froze it immediately. How much? Ramon asked. 3 million. She's running out of options. Mom's hands trembled as she served dinner. Will it ever really be over? It already is, I said firmly. She's just a shadow now. We've built something stronger than her hatred. After dinner, I drove to the small park where this all began, where I used to play with Serena as kids. Brayden waited on our usual bench. Rough day? He asked, pulling me close. Good day, actually. Angela's getting out soon. The foundation's growing. The company's thriving. I looked up at the stars. We won. But I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Serena to appear and destroy everything again. Brayden turned to face me. That's her last victory, making you fear happiness. Don't let her have it. My phone chimed. A message from Angela. Just heard from the parole board. I'm out next week. First stop, helping Jayla with her next workshop. Second stop, that accounting job you offered. Ready to be your newest employee, boss. I smiled, showing Brayden the message. This was my real legacy. Not revenge, but reconstruction. Building something meaningful from the wreckage Serena left behind. You know what? I said, standing up. Let's go plan that future we talked about. The one with kids and dreams and no looking back. No looking back, Brayden agreed. Walking hand in hand through the park, I realized something. Serena had tried to write my story. Poor little sister, forever in her shadow. But she forgot the most important rule. Everyone gets to write their own ending. And mine was just beginning.
Hi, I'm Ava, and I want to share a story with you. Like many others, I've had issues with my mother-in-law. It's surprising how many overbearing mother-in-laws there are out there. My mother-in-law, Madison, is one of them. She's pretty entitled and out of touch with reality. I noticed this right after marrying my husband, Asher. Madison wasn't reliant on us, but she acted as if everything we owned was hers, especially if she touched it. She always wanted a lavish lifestyle, but never had the money for it. Mostly, my sister-in-law Elena and I managed to steer clear of trouble, mainly because I didn't argue back. But things changed dramatically over one major incident. I had just inherited a vintage car from my grandfather. It meant a lot to me. But to Madison, it was just another item to sell and share the money with her. We had kept the car a secret from Madison, knowing she'd demand we sell it. And true to form, when she found it during a temporary stay at our place due to her house undergoing urgent repairs, her fault, but that's another story, she demanded we sell it. She saw the car in our garage and immediately wanted to know why it was there. I explained it was my inheritance from my late grandfather and had great sentimental value. But Madison had already looked up its value around $200,000 and argued that we should sell it. She claimed we were being selfish by not selling and sharing the inheritance with the family. Her words were completely unreasonable. Firstly, what I do with my belongings is none of Madison's business. I'm not required to share my property with her. I couldn't believe how unreasonable she was being. I didn't know how to respond, so I just let it be, hoping she'd drop the subject. Unfortunately, she was very persistent and kept bringing it up. During a quiet dinner one night, Madison again mentioned selling my car. Out of the blue, she asked if I'd decided to sell it. For the umpteenth time, I told her no. That wasn't happening. She insisted that owning such an expensive car was unacceptable for someone who isn't a millionaire. She argued that my regular Honda was sufficient and that I should think of the family by selling the car and sharing the money. I firmly told Elena that it was my decision what to do with my car. It's a sentimental item I'd always hoped to inherit, and I had no plans to sell it. Madison then turned to Asher, my husband, expecting him to side with her. Usually, Asher found it hard to refuse his mother or set boundaries, but he'd been improving. To Madison's surprise, Asher supported me, telling her that it was my car and my decision. He emphasized that the car held sentimental value and that it wasn't our place to force a sale. Even when Madison argued about the potential money from the sale, Asher stood firm, stating that the decision and the money were mine alone. He told her she was being too intrusive and should not meddle in our personal possessions. Madison seemed deflated by her son's stance, having expected him to back her. Realizing she wasn't going to win this, she still didn't give up trying. Madison kept making sly remarks about how great it would be to have $200,000 in cash from selling my car. Her comments were becoming really bothersome, but I tried to ignore them. I should have been more vigilant because she ended up stealing and selling my car without my knowledge. One morning, as I was getting ready to leave for work, I noticed my vintage car was missing from the garage. I was planning to drive my Honda, but when I opened the garage, the vintage car was gone. It didn't look like a break-in since the garage was open and Asher's car was also not there. He had already left for work. I was in a panic, thinking the car had been stolen. I called off work to deal with this as the car was too precious to lose. In a frenzy, I called Asher to confirm he hadn't taken it. He was surprised and told me he left in his Mustang and the vintage car was there when he left. Asher suggested I calm down and check our security cameras, and to call the police if I found anything. He had to attend an important meeting but told me to call him if I needed anything. Following his advice, I checked the security footage on my phone. What I saw was shocking and infuriating. Madison, my mother-in-law, was the one who took the car. Despite me repeatedly telling her not to touch it, she ignored my requests. I was furious. I decided to call her and record the conversation. I confronted Elena, asking why she took my car. She nonchalantly replied, she just went for a short ride. I demanded she return immediately, emphasizing that I never gave her permission to use it. She brushed it off, saying since I wasn't selling it, she thought she might as well use it, and hung up. I was livid. I considered calling the police but decided to give her a chance to return it undamaged. I didn't want to involve the police unnecessarily, but as time passed without her return, I started rethinking that decision. When Madison finally came in, my car was still missing. What's more, she was carrying shopping bags from expensive brands she couldn't afford. I confronted her, demanding to know where my vintage car was. She casually mentioned it was gone, sold. Her nonchalant attitude and lack of remorse infuriated me further. She had actually sold my beloved vintage car. I struggled to contain my anger, utterly shocked by her audacity. I confronted Elena in disbelief. "You sold my car? Are you kidding me?" She calmly confirmed she had indeed sold my car that very day and used the money to shop. I tried to process what she said. "So, you took my car, sold it, and used the money for yourself?" She nonchalantly replied that it was what she had been advising all along. Selling an expensive car that's just sitting in the garage seemed sensible to her. I was outraged. "Elena, how could you just take and sell my property for your own gain?" She brushed off my anger, saying she planned to use the money for family activities too. She even booked a trip to a ski resort in Alaska, and in her mind, this justified her actions. She suggested that if I behaved, she might share some of the money with me. Her words were pushing me to the edge. It was hard to believe someone could be so entitled as to sell something that wasn't theirs, but with my mother-in-law, it seemed anything was possible. I gave her one last chance, "Madison. Go back to where you sold my car and bring it back. This is your final opportunity to avoid serious trouble." She dismissed my warning, stating the car was sold and part of the money already spent. She had no intention of undoing her actions. I had given her a chance to rectify her mistake, but she blatantly refused. "You're not going to return it, huh?" "I see how it is," I said, realizing Elena was adamant about not bringing back my car. She arrogantly brushed me off and walked away with her shopping bags, not caring to listen to me. I was reeling from her audacity, but I knew getting angry wouldn't solve anything. I had to act quickly to retrieve my car. I did what seemed the only logical step. I called the police and explained the situation. The officers arrived at my house in about 20 minutes. I'd already gathered the car's ownership papers and welcomed them in, showing them the proof and the security footage of my mother-in-law taking the car. Elena came downstairs, feigning surprise at the sight of the police. She played innocent, asking if there was some issue with me. When the officers mentioned the charges for stealing and selling the car, she tried to mislead them, pointing to my Honda in the garage and denying any wrongdoing. The officers clarified they were talking about the vintage car she sold. Elena tried to deny its existence, but we had all the evidence, the paperwork, the video, and even the insurance records. Realizing her initial lies weren't working, she switched tactics. She pretended to be confused, admitting she might have mixed things up about the car. It was almost comical to watch her scramble to concoct stories to cover her actions. Madison claimed she sold the car because she thought I had asked her to, which was a blatant lie. I confronted her. "Why are you lying to the officers, Madison? I never gave you permission to even touch my car, let alone sell it." She tried to turn the situation around, accusing me of trapping her and claiming that I had changed my story, which was completely untrue. I countered her lies by playing the recorded phone call I had with her. In the recording, I clearly told her to bring my car back and not to drive or touch it, clearly showing I never gave her permission to sell it. The officers listened to the recording and were visibly annoyed with Madison's deception. They asked if she had any more lies to tell. Caught in her lies, Madison became flustered, trying to explain herself. But it was too late. The officers informed her she was under arrest for stealing and selling my car. She was visibly scared, tears in her eyes, and tried to come up with more lies, but the officers handcuffed her. In a complete turnaround, Madison then pleaded with me for help. She went from confident to begging, asking me not to let her get arrested, worrying about what people would say. I was resolute, telling her that she committed a crime and needed to be arrested. I was determined to get my car back. Madison tried to downplay the situation, saying it was just a car and suggesting we could work things out without involving the police. But I stood firm. She hadn't considered our family when she sold my car, a piece of my family's history. Her attempts to use the family card were in vain. Madison was in tears, continuing to beg me to let it go, but her actions and lies had crossed the line. Her delusional behavior couldn't excuse her actions. Madison actually believed I would let her off the hook for her terrible actions. She kept pleading with me until the police took her away. Just before getting into the police car, she defiantly yelled that this wasn't over and threatened to involve her son to set me straight. I responded that I was confident her son would make the right decision and she should be more concerned about facing legal consequences. Indeed, her son Asher did go to the police station, but not to rescue her. When Asher called to ask about the situation, I asked him to meet me at the station as I was going to file a formal complaint. I was curious to see Elena's reaction when Asher assessed everything. At the police station, Asher and I confronted Madison. She immediately played the victim, crying and accusing me of hating her enough to send her to jail. Asher asked me what had happened, and I prompted Elena to explain her actions regarding my car. Suddenly, she was silent, unable to think of any excuse. Asher pressed his mom for an explanation. I revealed that she had stolen and sold my car, then returned home with shopping bags, bragging about booking a vacation to Alaska. Asher was shocked and demanded more information. It turned out the police had tracked down the buyer of the car, who revealed it had been damaged after the purchase. This meant we were looking at a substantial lawsuit, possibly involving a claim of $2 million. Asher was dismayed, questioning his mother about her actions and reminding her that he had warned her to stay away from my car. Madison's misguided actions had spiraled into a major legal issue, far beyond a simple family dispute. Shear had never spoken to his mother in such a stern tone before, and Madison was clearly taken aback. Despite her tears and attempts to guilt-trip him, Asher stood firm. Madison desperately pleaded with him to get her out and convince me to drop the lawsuit, claiming she couldn't afford it and feared being broke and jailed. But Asher responded, "Why should I, Mom? You committed the crime. You should have thought about the consequences." Madison kept begging, trying to evoke sympathy, but Asher had reached his limit. He told her that he couldn't forgive her actions and that she was on her own. Meanwhile, Madison was also pleading with me for forgiveness, but I was beyond listening. Leaving the police station, Asher expressed his regret over his mother's actions and encouraged me to continue with the lawsuit to retrieve my car. Eventually, I did get my car back, but it had been involved in an accident and was badly damaged. Repairing a vintage car can be costly, and along with legal fees, the expenses skyrocketed. Madison ended up paying a hefty sum of $2 million for the lawsuit. She had to sell her childhood home and take on debts. It was a tough situation for her, but she had lost our sympathy. Asher made it clear we no longer wanted any contact with her, leading to her breaking down again. News of her arrest and the lawsuit spread quickly, resulting in her friends distancing themselves and her family's anger. It was evident that the rest of the family had more sense. We've remained out of contact with Madison. The lawsuit has been settled, and I managed to get my car repaired by a skilled mechanic, paid for by Madison. The car was so well repaired that it looked as though it had never been damaged. So, I got my car back in great condition, while Madison lost her home and is now living alone in a rented apartment, isolated and in need of company. Apologies, I thought you were going through rubbish with that. Gianna had a proud smile, not realizing she was making a mistake that would later be serious. I'm Clara, 29 years old, working as a seamstress at a studio dealing with movie, wedding dress, and modeling costumes. The studio's costumes range from fancy historical pieces to everyday clothes for modern shows. My role includes adjusting the designs to fit the era and sizing them for the actors. I also mend any damage from filming. While my main task is fixing clothes, my real expertise lies in sewing. I picked up needlework from my mother when I was young, making this job my true passion. The costumes in the studio range from fancy historical outfits to regular clothes used in modern TV shows. My job is to adjust the designs to fit the time period and size them for the actors. I also fix any damage from filming. Although my main task is repairing clothes, my real skill is sewing. I learned it from my mom when I was young, and it turned out to be my true passion. My daily routine involves handling clothes and using sewing machines and irons. Despite the unpredictable hours and sometimes difficult requests, I enjoy my job and plan to stick with it. I met my husband Joseph at this studio. He took care of the actors. We're 4 years apart, and since we saw each other every day, our connection naturally grew over 3 years. After meeting amidst our busy schedules, we eventually got married and started our new life together. However, just as this new chapter began, my mother suddenly fell ill and passed away, leading Joseph and me to postpone our wedding. Originally, we had planned a simple ceremony at a local church with just family. The delay prompted us to save up for a proper wedding and honeymoon. Due to our irregular work schedules, we thought it was wasteful to rent a house just for sleeping. To save for the wedding and honeymoon, Joseph and I began living with his mother, Gianna, at his family home. I lost my father early, and coincidentally, Joseph had a similar experience. With my mother gone, Joseph worried about his mother living alone. Although I wanted to get along with Gianna, looking back, that was the beginning of a nightmare. Gianna had no intention of getting along with me. In her eyes, I was no different from a thief who had stolen her son. As soon as we moved in, the harassment began. If I cleaned, Gianna would criticize, saying, "What is this? It's so dirty here, there, and over there. I wonder what kind of upbringing you had. Your parents must have been quite something." I endured the harassment, trying to keep up with the cleaning, even causing my hands to crack and bleed. The strictness regarding household chores was unimaginable, covering everything from cleaning to laundry to cooking. If anything was even slightly unsatisfactory, no matter how tired I was, the criticism continued. I used to endure a lot from Gianna. If she didn't like how I did something, she would make me do it again, acting like it was no big deal. The more tired I was, the worse the criticism got. No matter how perfectly I did a task, she would always find a flaw. I remember spending the whole night scrubbing the sink. It felt like she was displeased with everything about me. Gianna insisted that I do all the household chores. Struggling to balance work and chores, I eventually arranged to work from home. However, this only made Gianna's demands increase. Every day, it felt like I was Cinderella, slaving over household tasks. "Is the laundry done? The curtain upstairs is torn. Fix it." "You're good at sewing, aren't you?" Gianna would say. "I apologize, but I have some important work to attend to urgently." "Can we address the curtain matter over the weekend?" I requested. Gianna, however, replied, "What do you mean? Leaving it as is might lead to gossip from the neighbors. Please resolve it immediately." I discovered that I was juggling housework and my job, or you could say, trying to get my tasks done while handling household chores. There were instances when I had to work late into the night because the house tasks kept piling up. Gianna appeared to take pleasure in seeing me getting tired. It felt like she enjoyed teasing me, especially when Joseph wasn't present during the day. Our dynamic seemed more like that of a boss and a maid. I ended up taking care of all the household responsibilities. I used to take pride in being independent, finding it difficult to open up to Joseph about my feelings. I always made an effort to fulfill my responsibilities, and besides the physical exertion of daily tasks, there was an added mental strain. On certain occasions, Gianna would invite neighbors over for lunch, presenting a real challenge. In the presence of guests, Gianna would become even more demanding, and during their conversations, I caught snippets of criticism directed at me. They would remark, "She's not a good daughter-in-law. I have to guide her every day. My son may not see it, but I'm not fooled. She's just not pleasant and lacks common sense." I heard the neighbors laughing, and I joined in as if I agreed, thinking, who's really lacking common sense here? Once the chores are done, they're done, but their unkind words weigh heavily on my heart. Honestly, every day felt like I was getting closer to my breaking point. If this kept up, I feared I might lose my sanity. However, that wasn't the end of it. Joseph has an older sister, Ella, who is 31. Ella lived with her boyfriend in a nearby town, and if I were to describe Ella in one word, it'd be stingy. She would come to eat lunch at our house almost every day, probably to save money. The worst part was her unannounced visits, as I never knew when she would show up. Whenever she was about to visit, I couldn't prepare her share of the meal in advance. She would casually eat my food and claim ownership of everything. All her belongings at our place and even at her parents' house were considered hers. She would simply take anything she found in the house. It became challenging. "I'm running out of tissues. I'll take these," she'd say. "But Ella, I bought those for Gianna," I'd explain. In return, I'd receive a stern look and a remark like, "What are you talking about? You're always home, aren't you? Just go buy more." Like mother, like daughter. It's a wonder how Joseph turned out so well. The major issue arose when she would help herself to dinner ingredients without asking. Every time, I had to pause my chores and rush to the store again. One day, I couldn't take it anymore. I gathered the courage to speak up. "Could you please let me know before you take something, Ella?" Apparently, she informed Gianna about it. The next thing I knew, Gianna confronted me. "Did you tell Ella not to come over anymore?" I was taken aback. No, I didn't say that. Caught between Ella's lies and Gianna's cruelty, dealing with Gianna alone was tough. When the two of them teamed up, the mental burden became overwhelming. One day, as I passed by the room where they were talking, I overheard them speaking loud enough for me to hear. It's like having a free maid. How nice. "I'm jealous. Send her to my house too." I couldn't help but wonder, am I just a maid? What about being a daughter-in-law? I had envisioned myself in a different role. Being labeled as a maid was one thing, but hearing it spoken aloud was too much to bear. Something inside me snapped that night, and I finally opened up to Joseph. "I can't do this anymore. I've been patient, but I can't live with Gianna any longer. Please, I want to live somewhere else." After a moment of silence, Joseph responded, "Okay, we've saved enough money. Let's move out soon." I was relieved, and he added, "Really? I'll start looking for a place right away." Tears of relief streamed down my face. Unbeknownst to us, Gianna was actually standing just outside our room, and we were completely unaware that this would later result in her odd actions. From that point onward, the previously gloomy days unexpectedly started to become more cheerful. I had a dream I wished to wear a wedding dress that I crafted with my own hands for my big day. Since sewing was my expertise, I purchased a significant amount of fabric online and chose to dedicate myself to creating the dress as my newfound goal. That was my determination. I began stitching the dress quietly in my room, trying to keep it a secret from Gianna and Ella. However, one day, Ella, who frequently visited without notice, discovered me. "What's this dress?" she exclaimed. "It's amazing to have a dress that's just yours, Clara. I'm tying the knot in 3 months, and I'd be thrilled if you could design my dress. Renting feels like spending unnecessarily, and I'm aiming to keep the wedding expenses down." Ella, who's always on the lookout for budget-friendly options, suggested I make it. Despite some initial hesitation, I agreed, considering she'd take care of the material expenses. I began working on Ella's gown well in advance because our wedding was quite a way off. Ella instructed me to keep it hush-hush from Mom. It appeared she intended to inform Gianna that she was only borrowing the dress and was counting on some financial assistance. Despite the money she gave me for materials, she was set on getting it back. I must say, her careful spending was quite remarkable. I talked to Joseph about it, and he mentioned, "Sis never gives up when she makes up her mind." I apologize, but it would be really great if you could help her out. Feeling optimistic, I happily agreed, saying, "Sure thing. I'll give it my best shot." The thought of getting paid kept me motivated. I saw it as a valuable opportunity to practice making a dress without having to spend money on materials. Additionally, I held a small hope that this experience could lead to some improvement. While navigating my connection with Ella, I immersed myself in crafting dresses alongside handling household chores and my primary job. Even my friend Gianna seemed to notice my efforts, occasionally glancing into my room. Ella's wedding was approaching fast, and the dress was almost complete. Then, one day, Gianna entered my room with a smile and commented, "You're putting in a lot of effort today. Aren't you feeling tired?" "Yes, a little," I responded. Her abrupt shift in mood was unsettling. "I'm planning to brew some tea. How about you take a break?" she proposed. "Sure, that sounds nice. Thanks a lot." "No problem at all. I'll bring it to you in a bit." "Thanks a bunch. I'm glad to help." I conveyed my appreciation. As Gianna left with a tune on her lips, a peculiar discomfort crept over me. It was uncommon for Gianna to prepare tea for me. Could there be a darker motive behind this gesture? Various thoughts raced through my mind, but fretting seemed pointless. Opting to refocus, I returned to my work. As I delicately added the final lace touches, the completion of Ella's dress was near. Although the dress belonged to Ella, I found myself infusing it with affection. Abruptly, the aroma of tea drifted in. A knock on the door from Gianna prompted my curiosity, and I opened it to learn more about her intentions. In the next moment, I was surprised when Gianna walked in with a tray stacked high with cups and saucers, all filled with tea. Wait, it wasn't just for two, it seemed like she was getting ready for a party. The tray was so heavy that her arms trembled. Instinctively, I moved to stop her from coming in further. Oops! Gianna pretended to trip, and the sound of cups breaking and tea splashing echoed in the room. For a moment, I couldn't understand what had happened. Everything felt like it was in slow motion. Looking down, my yellow dress was stained, resembling a giraffe pattern. I involuntarily screamed. I didn't miss the brief smile on Gianna's face. Oh no, I'm so sorry. It wasn't on purpose. Did you get burned? Gianna said, feigning concern. Wait, is that a dress? I thought you were going through trash. I was speechless. The shock of her actions left me frozen. Then Gianna pretended to be concerned again, saying, "Oh dear, you can't have your wedding like this, can you?" My suspicions turned into certainty. Gianna was trying to sabotage our wedding. Her plan was to ruin our arrangements to move out after the wedding. I couldn't afford to be angry at the moment. In a hurry, I rushed to the bathroom carrying the dress with tea stains, desperately attempting to wash them off. I was aware that the stains could become permanent if I didn't act swiftly. Gianna watched with a sinister smile. "Require assistance?" she inquired. "No, I'm good," I retorted icily, feeling a mix of anger and panic. Unexpectedly, someone appeared behind Gianna. "What's happening? Are you picking on Clara once more?" Ella questioned. "No, I accidentally messed up her dress with tea," Gianna explained, seemingly finding it amusing. The situation suddenly shifted. "Seriously? That's my dress. Hold on, what?" Gianna was left stunned. "Yours, Ella? What are you saying? I can't believe this. She was making my dress. What am I going to do? My wedding is just a week away." Ella was in shock, and Gianna started to panic like never before. As I listened to their absurd conversation, I kept washing the dress I'd been crafting for months, meant for my sister-in-law Ella. It dawned on me that I hadn't mentioned it was for her. Gianna might have assumed the dress was for me, leading her to purposefully spill tea on it. Joseph and I intended to move out after the wedding, and to Gianna, I was like the sneaky cat stealing away her dear son. She couldn't stand the idea of her son going away with the woman she saw as just a servant. To prevent the wedding and make sure her son stayed at home, she tried to ruin our plans. These small-minded thoughts drove her to do strange things. Angry and pointing fingers at Gianna, Ella lashed out, yelling, "Why would you do such a thing? Everything is a mess now. I'm shocked that my own mom messed up my wedding." "I apologize, Ella. Please forgive me. I had no idea it was your gown. You don't think I did it intentionally, right?" Gianna finally opened up about her real feelings. As I listened, I acted like I didn't hear and kept washing the dress. Suddenly, a man's voice chimed in. "Did you think it was Claire's dress and purposely stained it?" Everyone turned to look. "Oh, Joseph, when did you arrive?" Mom inquired. Joseph stood in silence, his face showing an expression that words couldn't capture. I was busy washing the dress and paying attention to the argument, completely unaware of Joseph's timely arrival. He had quietly watched the heated dispute between his mother and sister. Gradually, Joseph spoke with a look of profound disappointment. "You witnessed Clara putting in so much effort on that dress every night, and still, you purposely stained it. That's truly. It's different than you think, Joseph." "Please, no excuses," Gianna yelled. Ella was surprised. Gianna, especially, had likely never expected her son, whom she loved dearly, to raise his voice. Joseph spoke with calm sadness. "I'm let down, Mom. Claire has been enduring your behavior all this while, and we both wished that someday you'd change. Claire showed patience for my sake, because you're my mom." Upon hearing this, tears welled up within me. I had previously perceived Joseph as indecisive and overly submissive to his mother, but that perception was entirely mistaken. Before me stood a resolute man prepared to defend the woman he loved. Joseph's unwavering determination, though seemingly out of context in the situation, reignited my admiration for him. He continued to address Gianna, saying, "This is the crux of it all. I can't just ignore it, Mom. I'm sorry, but Claire and I are leaving this place as soon as we can. I intended to stay until the wedding for your sake, but I can't prolong my stay any further. This time, it was only a dress, but who knows what might happen next? Clara could be at risk in the future. It'll be too late then, Mom. Danger? I would never want to put her in danger." "How can you say that after ruining Clara's hard work so casually?" Joseph's frustration was evident, but rather than resorting to harsh words or a domineering demeanor, he calmly expressed his displeasure towards Gianna. His face revealed the depth of his emotions. I saw a whole new set of emotions that I hadn't seen before, anger mixed with a sadness that's hard to put into words. He strongly denied everything about his mother, who had always showered him with love. Gianna seemed deeply affected, unable to speak and reduced to tears. Usually quick with sharp remarks, now she was in tears. Ella, too, was shocked, shifting her gaze between Joseph and Gianna. Later on, Ella had to call off her upcoming wedding, losing all the money she had paid. Gianna, who had covered the expenses, insisted that Ella wasn't at a loss. In return, Ella blamed Gianna for the breakup that followed her sudden cancellation, causing frustration for her boyfriend and his family. Gianna, filled with apparent remorse, understood the outcomes of her careless deeds that had taken a wrong turn. The emotional blow from her son's scolding left her feeling vulnerable. The problem didn't just stay within our home, it also affected Ella's relationship. After moving out of the family home, Gianna would sometimes reach out to us, seeking financial help. One of the reasons she hesitated to let us go was money-related. When we lived together, we shared the costs of running the household, but Gianna didn't have any income other than her pension. It seemed like she had been depending on our financial assistance. Nevertheless, whenever Gianna asked Joseph for money, he declined. "Mom, why not have a job? Many jobs are out there and we should all be self-reliant, you and us. Please don't leave us by ourselves," Gianna begged, not wanting to feel deserted. But Joseph stood his ground. His commitment appeared to stem from a feeling of responsibility. After some time, Gianna took up a job as a janitor. Her careful approach to cleaning seemed to be a good fit for the position, adding a touch of irony to the situation. Following her breakup with her boyfriend and departure from their shared apartment, Ella moved back in with Gianna. She decided to quit her job altogether, depending on Gianna's part-time earnings and pension. The last time I saw her, she had gained a significant amount of weight and was barely recognizable. Joseph and I have settled into a new apartment, savoring the joy of our happy life. No one around to make snide comments or be sarcastic. It's truly peaceful compared to our previous time. One day, my husband inquired, "Hey, what's the amount in that container?" I chuckled and answered, I'd say we've got around $700,000 in there now." The following day, upon returning home, I discovered a signed divorce document on the living room table, and both the vault and my husband were nowhere to be found. I'm Eleanor, a 49-year-old working housewife. Despite this unexpected turn of events, I persevere in putting in dedicated effort at my job. Well, I really enjoy saving money. Back in my childhood, my mom set up a savings account for me. She told me that putting money in the bank would make the numbers in my passbook go up. I started with just $5, and it was so much fun to see it grow. Every year, my savings grew a bit more with a few extra cents in interest. It was like a pleasant little surprise for my younger self. Attracted to the world of money and its intricacies, I chose to become a financial planner, sharing guidance on managing assets. One day, a university buddy told me about a childhood pal facing severe challenges because of gambling, struggling to make a living. I opted to meet with both him and my friend. Despite his attractive exterior and a cheerful smile, my old friend was caught in the web of gambling troubles and financial hardships. I believed Eleanor could offer valuable guidance to him. While hearing Owen's tale, he confessed his passion for gambling, just like his folks. To make matters worse, he had shouldered his parents' financial burden. Naturally, he appeared quite concerned, and I found his troubled expression charming. Since my friend had requested, I willingly agreed to assist him. Reflecting now, I may have had a slight crush on him, but I never anticipated it leading to a series of challenging events. Regardless, I suggested to Owen to consolidate his debts and lower his monthly payments for better life management. Soon after, Owen and I began dating. Despite my friend's opposition, claiming they didn't endorse being with him, we proceeded and eventually got married. My hope was that marriage would enable us to confront Owen's debt together. My earnings are quite satisfactory considering my age, so Owen had to allocate most of his income to settle his debts. I advised him to sever connections with his parents to avoid the debt from growing. Additionally, I provided Owen with a monthly allowance of $700. When he chose to break ties, his mother shouted, "Ungrateful child. I regret ever having you." "It's common for children to assist their parents with debts," remarked his father, adding, "Where's that dishonest? I can't unwind until I share my feelings with her. She doesn't fit in with our family," and my husband Owen, exhausted from handling my in-laws' financial problems, finally asserted himself. He told them, "That's it. I'm not your bank. I'm doing my best." He returned to me, relieved to be liberated from their constant reminders of debts. Before long, we welcomed our son, Jack, who resembles Owen, my source of pride and joy. However, Jack appeared to observe his father's lack of discipline and uncertainty. Owen's carefree nature persisted, and he continued borrowing money from unscrupulous lenders, dealing with loan sharks, and deceiving friends into lending him money for gambling. Despite the challenges, I managed to keep Owen in line over 25 years. Recently, we reduced Owen's debt to about $10,000, nearing full repayment. However, Owen received a call from his parents asking for help, as his father had collapsed. Owen left work early and messaged me, apologizing for breaking our promise and going to see his parents at the hospital. "I'm really sorry to hear about your dad's minor stroke. While he's not in immediate danger, it's important for him to take things easy and avoid overexertion. Both of my parents are feeling a bit down, and I want to support them. Would it be all right if I spend some time with them?" "Certainly, dear. Go and offer them comfort. Would you like me to join you?" "No need. It's fine if you're busy with work and they might not treat you well again." I gave Owen some extra money to help with his hospital visit since they couldn't afford the fees. Since then, Owen has been regularly visiting his parents, taking around $400 to $500 each time from me. It seems my in-laws are facing financial difficulties, and Owen is assisting them. It has added up to about $1,000 to $2,000 a month, but I've decided to overlook it for now. I'm sorry to hear about your dad's minor stroke. While he's not in immediate danger, it's crucial for him to take it easy and avoid overexertion. My parents are feeling a bit down, and I want to support them. Can I spend some time with them? Absolutely, go and comfort them. Would you like me to join you? No, it's okay if you're busy with work, and they might not react well again. I provided Owen with extra money to cover his hospital visits because it seemed they couldn't afford the fees. Since then, Owen has been regularly visiting his parents, taking around $400 to $500 each time from me. It appears my in-laws are facing financial difficulties, and Owen is helping them. Although it has accumulated to about $1,000 to $2,000 a month, I've chosen to overlook it for the time being. I couldn't resist smiling when I found out Owen was eyeing the money in the vault and had plans to take it all. Even though he isn't very smart, the thought of him trying to carry the entire vault almost made me burst into laughter. At our house, we have a black cat named Aurora. To keep an eye on her cute behaviors, we set up a pet camera. Observing Aurora's playful moments brings me joy throughout my day. I frequently check the camera during lunch breaks, and every time I do, my cat looks absolutely adorable. One day, when I turned on the camera, I witnessed an unexpected scene in our living room on a regular weekday. My in-laws and my husband, Owen, were deeply engrossed in a surprising conversation. They admired our home, saying, "Living in such a nice house. Owen, with a good salary, makes your mother so proud." Owen replied, "Indeed, I am proud." His father joined in. "I earn a decent salary too, but Eleanor manages it all, so I only receive an allowance of $700 a month." Owen added, "Oh, poor thing. I've been working so hard, and your mother understands." They comforted him, expressing disbelief that she takes his entire salary, leaving him with only $700 a month. They unanimously agreed that it was unfair and that he deserves more. "Why are you blindly following Eleanor as if she's your boss? You could lead a much better life on your own," they continued. "Owen, you're our source of pride. You could have saved hundreds of thousands by now, but she's just taking advantage of you. Poor thing," they said, causing my mother-in-law to sob. "Yeah, I've been contemplating the same thing." "You guys are right," Owen agreed. I couldn't help but wonder what he meant, considering he seemed to have completely overlooked the fact that I've been diligently working to pay off his debts. Furthermore, in the past, he was burdened with debts from his parents, having to give them cash every month, making it challenging for him to make ends meet. "You know, she has a bank book with tons of savings stashed away. It's not fair that I only get $700, Owen complained. The moment he said that, my in-laws' eyes lit up. They exchanged glances, eagerly awaiting his answer. Last I heard, I think it was around $600K or $700K, Owen said. "Owen, isn't that money rightfully yours?" they asked. "It might not match the effort you've put in, but isn't it money you should be receiving?" Owen nodded in agreement. "I'm beginning to believe the same," Owen admitted. Despite his attractive appearance, Owen struggles with making decisions and often lets others sway him easily. In the past, I found this indecisiveness charming and dedicated myself to him completely. We successfully brought down his debt from almost $200,000 to just $10,000. However, it seems his parents are influencing him once more, and they're on the verge of accessing my hard-earned savings. Witnessing this scene was truly heartbreaking. I sat at my desk in tears, clutching my phone. I had been setting aside money from his earnings to cover my living expenses, primarily to settle the debt. Additionally, I was giving him a personal allowance of $700 from my own funds. Despite explaining this to Owen, it appears he completely forgot the significance of the past 25 years. I felt deeply saddened and pitiful. My heart throbbed as if I were engulfed in my own tears. It's not that I sensed myself vanishing on the brink of shattering, but on the day I left work early due to illness, I made sure to document the conversation and sent the information to my son. Departing from work early that day, I headed to my regular bar and indulged in heavy drinking, pouring out my emotions to the bartender. In that state, the bartender comforted me with kindness. He nonchalantly remarked, "Why mourn for such a person? You've done nothing wrong. You don't have to live for them, live for yourself." In that instant, all my inebriation and love for my husband dissipated. "Thank you, sir. Next time, we'll share a delightful dream," I expressed to the bartender before returning home. Entering my room, I thought about how I could get hold of the bank book hidden in that light bulb. I couldn't figure it out at first, but I had to come up with a plan. I was determined to prove myself they shouldn't underestimate me. I focused more than usual. The initial move was to gather evidence. After that, I checked the pet camera regularly, and the unpleasant truth started to emerge. My spouse was bringing a young woman home during the hours he claimed to be working. It appeared he was having an affair and bringing her over approximately twice a week. It was hard to believe I had to witness my spouse being unfaithful when all I wanted was to take care of her cat, Aurora. Aurora also seemed frightened and wouldn't appear. They disrupted my valuable relaxation time. More than that, They betrayed my trust, something I cannot forgive. Someday, I will address this situation with serious consequences. Someday. While I was busy with my work, I decided to check the pet camera. This time, it wasn't the lady my husband was having an affair with, but my in-laws were once again at our place. They casually mentioned their plan to retrieve the bank book from Hilling, accompanied by an unpleasant grin. With a teasing tone, they said, "You're clever. Surely you've thought of a plan, right?" I quipped, "Oh, I've given it some thought. I'm contemplating taking the entire vault. It seems doable." One of them expressed concern. "The vault is quite heavy. Can you handle it?" Reassuringly, I responded, "I'll manage. I'll load it onto a cart." "Dad, lend me a hand, will you?" He agreed, saying, "I'm here to help anytime." As we dealt with the weighty safe, tipping the scales at 140 pounds, it confirmed my suspicion that my husband Owen was handsome, but not the sharpest tool in the shed. Once more, I promised myself to bring these people down to a terrible place. I pictured having that cash, thinking, with this money, we could go to the casino. I envisioned going to the casino as a family and enjoying a happy life together as a family of 4. Owen agreed, saying, "Sure, let's have a joyful life with the money from that bank book, shall we?" Yet, a sense of guilt crept into my thoughts when I considered Eleanor, who had diligently saved up with such happiness. I hesitated about taking the money she had worked so hard to save. "You shouldn't be so fragile while we're working on this for your happiness. Remember? I'll find joy and you've already discovered a new spouse, right? Quickly end your marriage with that woman. I need to get divorced for her well-being too. I'll leave the divorce papers here. Yes, we're waiting for the money from that bank account and the new spouse, so I'm going to get divorced." Well, that makes sense. I found myself oddly agreeing. But how desperate are these individuals for some cash? I was sipping coffee at my office desk, capturing the scene on my phone screen. I wasn't even bothered or sorrowful anymore. If they had such intentions, so did I. I was determined to show them a difficult time. I was motivated, and then the day finally arrived. "Hey, how much money is in the passbook?" The following day, when I arrived home, I noticed that passbook inside the safe. You always appear so delighted when you gaze at it. Currently, there's approximately $500,000 in there. The subsequent day upon my return, I found a signed divorce document in the living room, and both my husband and the vault were absent. A subtle smile adorned my face during breakfast. Swiftly, I took action. I promptly initiated the divorce process and immediately informed my son. "Jack, your father has indeed absconded with a vault. Hard to believe he managed to carry it. It's incredibly heavy. Mom, I think it's time to conclude things with Dad. By the way, did he take everything? The vault isn't useful anymore. I transferred all the money to an online account. The bank passbook serves no purpose now. The most crucial thing is missing. Should I inform the police? Perhaps the safe was the issue. It was extremely heavy. By the way, I've initiated divorce proceedings. Now I'm contemplating involving the police. What's your opinion? If you decide to involve the police, make sure to hire a lawyer as well." Oh, yes, a lawyer. I had hired a private investigator, but I overlooked getting a lawyer. Thanks for the reminder. I'm also severing ties with Jack. I reached out to a lawyer because Jack advised me to do so. The lawyer appeared irritated. I got in touch with a lawyer through my investigator and handed over the recording from my pet camera to both the police and the lawyer. I patiently waited. Eventually, my ex-husband called, sounding desperate. "The passbook is empty. What happened to the $500,000? You deceived me. Where is it? Tell me now or I'm going back to the house and leaving your cat, Aurora. You stole from me and now you're threatening me. From now on, communicate with my lawyer." I informed him that I would block his number. The incident was reported to the police, and I shared the recording with my lawyer. What a relief. This is exactly what I wanted to do. Karma can be tough. Soon after, the police called me with good news. They apprehended the thief. However, there was damage to the vault. He had forced it open, and the contents inside were destroyed by fire. My ex-husband and his parents discovered that the passbook balance was zero, and it turns out they intentionally set fire to the items in the vault. Despite it being his first offense, my ex-husband spent a few days in police custody. His parents were released with a stern warning. After his release, my ex-husband broke into his former residence. I told him to go away, blocked his number, reported the situation to the police, and shared the recording with my lawyer. What a relief. It's exactly what I wanted to do. Karma can be quite harsh. The police called shortly after, letting me know they apprehended the thief. However, the vault was damaged. It seems he forcefully opened it. The contents inside were burned. My former husband and his parents found out that the account balance was zero. Evidently, they set fire to the items inside the vault. Despite it being his first offense, my ex-husband spent a few days in police custody, while his parents were released with a stern warning. After he was set free, my ex-husband forcefully entered our old home, insisting on being let in. "Hey, open the door. I'm here." Quickly, I dialed the police, explaining the unsettling situation. Eventually, he apologized, insisting it was just a harmless prank. He pressed me to allow him inside for a talk, inquiring about the status of the divorce papers. I firmly stated that the divorce papers had been filed and our relationship was over. Despite his objections, I demanded he leave and warned of involving the police. He persisted, causing a commotion and asserting that it was still his residence. I made another call to the police, and after 20 minutes, they removed him from the scene. After that, I got in touch with my lawyer to clarify what happened and start the procedure for getting a restraining order. I talked to my lawyer about filing a lawsuit due to emotional distress. The lawyer cautioned that we might not receive a significant amount of money from my financially struggling spouse. However, that's not my primary worry. I am set on requesting alimony. It appears that my spouse broke into our house after being rejected by their lover and wanting to reconcile with me. Unexpectedly, the lover quickly sent $10,000 in alimony and vanished, hinting at their separation following some financial difficulties. It seems like their relationship went through a rough patch due to financial troubles. When the money problems arose, their love also faded away. I suspect he was drawn to my savings of $700,000. My ex-husband, who earns less than he deserves, still owes $10,000 and has parents dealing with a gambling addiction. According to my lawyer, he resides in a small, old apartment without a shower, frequently arguing with his parents. My ex-husband pleaded, explaining that he can't manage to pay the alimony and asked for a reduction. Despite being close to retirement, he lost his job, and now his elderly in-laws are striving to make ends meet by taking on cleaning jobs. My ex-husband is currently juggling 2 part-time jobs. However, both of these jobs are held by gambling addicts. Regardless of how much money they earn, it mysteriously vanishes due to their addiction. Unfortunately, there's no way to help them. I communicated through my lawyer, insisting on no reduction and advising them to stay away from me. I made it clear that if they are genuinely remorseful, they should demonstrate it through financial responsibility. Had he stayed with me, he had a plan to eliminate the remaining $10,000 debt before retirement. Unfortunately, he succumbed to the persuasive words of his gambling-addicted parents-in-law. It's disheartening to think about how this $700,000 represents the accumulation of my savings since a young age. I used to find joy in updating my bank book with small changes. Now, I'm contemplating starting a new bank account. Currently, I'm leading a peaceful life with my black cat, Aurora. My son occasionally visits and shares updates about his girlfriend. At this point, I'm considering purchasing a new, large vault, one too substantial for a person to carry. Aurora, I feel that I'm experiencing the happiest moments of my life. My name is Eleanor, 25 years old. I suggest grabbing some snacks because this is going to be quite a journey. My life has had its share of highs and lows, and honestly, I never expected to be where I am today. But let's dive right in. Like I mentioned, I'm just an ordinary girl who faced her fair share of challenges. You know how some people have parents guiding them through life? Well, I didn't have that luxury. I was an orphan navigating the world solo, fending for myself since the age of 15. As you can imagine, I made some questionable decisions along the way. Here's the plot twist. Despite the chaos and uncertainty, life threw me a bone. I secured a full-ride scholarship to a decent university. Can you believe it? I went from fearing I'd end up on the streets to having this incredible opportunity. I decided to make the most of it, majoring in both finance and media, a combination that felt like the ultimate power move because, honestly, I didn't know what else to do. Fast forward to my graduation, I was ready to take on the world armed with my dual degrees and an unmatched determination. I felt invincible, ready to conquer anything. But, as we all know, life loves throwing curveballs. Enter COVID-19, the global pandemic that flipped everyone's plans upside down. Remember that? Suddenly, everything was uncertain, and the world was changing at an unprecedented pace. Like many others, I had to adapt quickly. I knew I had to pivot if I was going to survive this. I started exploring remote job opportunities and delving into the world of online work. Turns out, adapting was the key. I had a talent for stuff like affiliate marketing and content writing. With my background in finance and media, it turned out to be the perfect mix for this digital landscape. Now, let's dive into the unique part of my story. As I delved deeper into the online world, I discovered something significant. My hard work paid off, and I was onto something big. Rising through the ranks, I became a promising businesswoman. The more I learned, the more I earned, not just financially, but also in terms of confidence and self-belief. All right, folks, back to the story. Let me tell you, the plot only intensifies from here. Picture this. I was on this wild ride, conquering the online world with my affiliate marketing skills. And then I crossed paths with the guy who would change my life, James. Initially, things were fantastic between us. We clicked, laughed, and life felt like an exciting adventure. Now, here comes the twist. Within a mere 8 months of knowing each other, we decided to take the plunge and get married. Now, looking back, I realized we jumped into things too quickly. I mean, 8 months is barely enough time to figure out someone's favorite color, let alone their entire life story. Don't get me wrong, though. Despite the whirlwind romance, I appreciate the learning experience. Every decision, whether good or bad, shapes who we are. So, yeah, I learned a thing or two about slowing down and really getting to know someone before committing to a lifetime together. Now, let's talk about James's reaction to my work. When he first asked what I did, he kind of brushed it off, saying, "Oh, that's cute. You're dabbling in some online stuff." Little did he know, my little online gig was about to blow up in a major way. I'm talking viral posts, the kind that sends your follower count soaring and your bank account doing the shay-shay. Suddenly, I wasn't just making a few bucks here and there. Nope, I was raking in some serious cash. And guess what? I became wealthier than my own husband. Yeah, you read that right. Now, here's where the drama ramps up. James, bless his ego, wasn't exactly thrilled about the whole situation. Imagine this. A guy who thought my job was some adorable little side hustle was suddenly staring at my skyrocketing bank balance. Well, let's just say he wasn't jumping for joy. I could practically see his pride deflating like a balloon. It was like watching a reality show unfold right in front of me. Then, one day, he approached me with this. "Hey, Eleanor, you know I've been thinking about your whole online thing." "Do you? Do you truly believe this is a sustainable career?" "What I mean is, don't you think it's time to consider something more stable? It's good that you're exploring this, but let's be practical. You're not really earning a significant income from it." "Excuse me? Are you implying my work isn't valuable? I make more money than you." This seemed to upset him because I swear I almost saw the vein in his forehead pop. No, that's not what I'm saying. I just think it might be better if you focus on something more reliable, like finding a steady job or even just staying home and taking care of things here. You know, like a traditional role. James, you have no idea how much effort I put into this. I've worked hard to build my online presence, connect with people, and yes, to make money. I've faced challenges, learned new skills, and grown so much in the process. Yeah, sure, but it's not exactly a conventional job, is it? It's not like you're bringing in a substantial income. Let's face it, it can be a bit awkward when people ask what you do. Uncomfortable? Seriously? This is my passion, my dedication, and my achievements we're discussing. I take pride in what I've accomplished, and I won't abandon it just because you may not fully appreciate its worth. Let's be practical for a moment. Given the uncertainties in the world, having more stability could be beneficial. If you stay home, you can contribute to making our living space comfortable and taking care of things here. James, I won't sacrifice my dreams and the strides I've taken just to become a homemaker. I deserve to pursue I deserve to have a career that makes me proud. I should be able to pursue my own goals and passions. And if you can't support me in that, then maybe we need to have a serious talk about our future together. We argued for hours on end. I was so frustrated with him that I decided to leave. Just for some context, after we got married, I moved in with James and decided to rent out my place for some extra money on the side. However, with James's behavior, I started questioning whether staying in the same home as him was the right choice. I threatened to go back to my place until he could address his insecurities and stop being upset with me for making more money than him. Okay, Eleanor, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for bringing it up. You're right, and I'm wrong. Please forgive me. Don't go, please. Well, I never expected that twist. It seemed almost too simple. This is what we call foreshadowing, folks. I believed things would improve after James assured me of his support. However, that wasn't the end of it. The very next day, I found myself in an unexpected situation. It wasn't ninjas attacking me, but rather James and my mother-in-law, Sophia, both ready to express their disapproval. They raised their voices, scolding me for not following James's advice and persisting with my silly online endeavor. I was taken by surprise, and their words felt like sharp daggers cutting through me. I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. I felt stuck and utterly beaten. I had put in a lot of effort to establish my career in life, only to witness it unravel because of the very individuals who were meant to encourage me. And it didn't end there. They chose to make my life even more difficult, piling on household chores and responsibilities, leaving me with no time or energy to dedicate to my work. They were set on undermining my success and crushing my morale. As weeks went by, my income began to drop, and my once thriving online presence fell apart. This took a toll on my confidence and self-esteem. I found myself in a distressing situation, caught in a cycle of mistreatment and manipulation that I couldn't break free from. Each day, I sat in front of my computer, attempting to salvage what remained of my work. But the burden of their hurtful words and excessive demands felt overwhelming. I felt like I was suffocating, struggling to breathe, and had lost control of my career. What made it even more challenging was that I started internalizing their insults, convincing myself that I was only fit to be a submissive housewife. I found myself in a difficult situation, torn between two options. On one side, I longed to pack up and regain my independence in my own home. However, fear held me back, fear of the potential consequences and fear of the unknown. I wished things had turned out differently, yearning for the days when I felt unstoppable, believing I could conquer anything. I thought I could handle whatever challenges came my way, but everyone has their limits. The breaking point arrived suddenly. James had pushed me to the edge, making me spend countless hours cooking, only to reject it all and demand a fresh start. It felt like a cruel game to him. In a certain situation, I found a way to take charge and maintain my independence. Eventually, I reached a breaking point. I stood my ground and confronted the person, insisting that they stop treating me like a servant at their beck and call. Their negative reaction was intense. They became angrier than I had ever seen. Shockingly, for the first time, they resorted to physical violence, striking me across the face. This incident served as a wake-up call, making me realize the extent of the abuse I'd endured. As I lay on the ground, a surge of anger and fear coursed through me. Without thinking, I impulsively grabbed a nearby object, a knife, my hand trembling but my determination unwavering. I pointed it at them, expressing my refusal to tolerate the mistreatment any longer. I apologized for my actions, but their remorse didn't register with me. I had heard apologies and excuses before, recognizing that a line had been crossed with no possibility of reconciliation. With the knife still in hand, I declared that I was done, unable to endure the situation any longer. I announced my decision to leave for good, quickly gathering my essentials. As I walked out, prepared to call the authorities if needed, the person began to sob and plead, attempting to garner sympathy. In that moment, I realized that the toxic environment had suffocated me for far too long, and I could no longer love someone who perpetuated such negativity. I wasn't sure where I was heading, but I knew I couldn't stay where I was. I drove back to my own house, thankfully unoccupied at the time. It was the only place where I could find some relief and take a deep breath. I questioned why I had left in the first instance. As I sat there, tears streaming down my face, I realized the mess I had gotten myself into. Having read enough self-help books, I understood that once someone crosses a physical line, it won't likely stop. I wasn't willing to wait around to see how much worse it could get. I recognized the need to take control of my life again, to regain the strength and independence I fought hard for. The road ahead seemed difficult, full of unknowns and fear, but I was at least heading towards regaining my strength and breaking free from the chains that had held me captive for far too long. In the familiar surroundings of my home, I finally faced the truth I had been avoiding, the harsh reality of the abuse I had endured. Allowing myself to crumble, I let the tears flow, washing away some of the pain that had been buried deep inside. Amidst my emotional chaos, my phone kept ringing persistently, each call coming from Sophia. I had been avoiding her, hoping that my silence would make her give up, but she remained persistent. Persistent, I finally answered, my voice weighed down with exhaustion. Sophia's tone on the other end had changed, sounding sad and almost defeated. She pleaded with me to return to James, to work things out and mend the shattered pieces of our marriage. Her words felt like sharp daggers, reminding me of the twisted web of guilt and manipulation that had kept me trapped for so long. I scoffed at her words, finding it hard to believe the audacity of it all. I told her without holding back that a loving conversation couldn't overcome everything. It wasn't that simple. I made it clear that I was done, that I would never go back to the nightmare they called home, and they should leave me alone. However, Sophia's tone shifted, and her desperation turned into threats that sent shivers down my spine. She warned me that if I left, James could take the money I had worked so hard to earn. Panic set in as I realized the gravity of the situation. Unsure of what to say, I abruptly hung up the phone, my hands trembling. Fear crept in once again as the reality sank in. This wasn't over. They wouldn't just let me go. Deep down, I knew I couldn't stay in that house. I couldn't risk them showing up at my doorstep, forcing me to return to that hellish nightmare. With a heavy sigh, I acknowledged what had to be done. I had to do it. I couldn't let them control me any longer. It was time to take charge of my own destiny, prioritize my safety and well-being, and run as fast as I could. This meant leaving everything behind: the abuse, the manipulation, and even the house. It was a frightening decision, but one I knew I had to make to finally break free from the chains that had held me captive for far too long. Without wasting any time, I left that potential house of horrors the next morning, even before the sun rose. I packed up whatever I could salvage: clothes, shoes, toiletries, leaving behind any remnants of that old life. The house was put up for sale, marking a chapter I was eager to close. With the support of a few friends, I found a buyer within a week, bringing palpable relief. Not only would I gain some financial independence, but I could sever the last thread tying me to my abusers. It was a fresh start I so desperately needed. I decided to move to a smaller town, far away from the memories and pain of my past. A town with just 29,000 people where I could disappear in the anonymity of a smaller community. The peace and quiet were exactly what I craved: a chance to heal and gather my strength for the battles ahead. Blocking James and Sophia on all fronts, I attempted to create a distance between us. However, the fear of them finding me lingered like a shadow despite the peace I sought. I settled into my fresh start, concentrating on rebuilding my online business and reconnecting with my true self. As time passed, I found a sense of safety in my new environment. However, unexpectedly, James reappeared like a nightmare. He made new social media accounts to reach out to me, sending messages filled with a mix of anger, desperation, and manipulation. He insisted I stop being unreasonable and return home. I remained vigilant, blocking every new account he created. Despite the ongoing threat, I slowly made progress. My online business began to thrive once more, giving me a spark of hope that I could take charge of my life again. With each successful step, my confidence grew. I came to realize that, despite enduring tough times, I had the strength to overcome them. Protecting my location with caution and constructing a barrier of secrecy, I started to sense a newfound strength. I was shaping a life according to my own preferences, distancing myself from the harmful influences that had hindered my progress for an extended period. In this phase, I also thought strategically about separating from James and securing my financial well-being. While contemplating a post-nuptial agreement, I harbored doubts about his willingness to agree, given his inclination to keep me confined and in a state of neediness. James intensified his efforts to reach out to me, making a fresh account each day. Despite his increasing threats and persistent pleas, I chose to keep ignoring him. Nonetheless, on one occasion, he uttered words that sent a chill down my spine. "It's been months, Eleanor 5. Why are you still hiding? Don't assume I won't locate you. I promise to God, if you don't return home right away, I'll destroy your house." I was shocked when I got a threatening message from James. He dared to believe he could still control me, which infuriated me. But I didn't give in. Instead, I blocked him, just like I had done before. No more new accounts, no more messages, no more threats. It seemed like he finally understood I wouldn't be his victim anymore. A week later, a friend from my old town sent me a shocking photo, a mugshot of James and Sophia caught committing arson on what used to be my house. I quickly searched online and found out they were arrested for arson. Sophia revealed they thought someone else was in the house, and now they were also charged with conspiracy to commit murder. What idiots! The twist was surreal. They had tried to burn down the house, but the new owner caught them in the act, stopping the fire. Their audacity left me stunned, but a mix of shock, anger, and relief washed over me. They were now behind bars awaiting trial, bringing a sense of vindication. With their hearings pushed into the future, they were stuck in a jail cell, unable to torment me further. Despite the lingering fear of their potential threat, a bigger part of me was relieved they were facing justice. I'm working with a lawyer to ensure I'm protected when I divorce that scumbag. Family. It's crucial to place me first in everything, regardless of the situation. Joseph's fever isn't a big problem, but I couldn't ignore what he just said. How could you say that? As a parent, your child should always come first. Why can't you understand that? When I brought this up, my husband Joseph said something shocking. The one providing financial support for the family is the most important. That means I should be the top priority in this household. If you can't fulfill that expectation, then it's better to part ways. In that moment, something inside me broke. Fine then, I'll leave. Yeah, go ahead. Well, you wouldn't be able to manage without my income anyway. Hi, I'm Camila, a 32-year-old homemaker. My husband, Joseph, and I tied the knot 6 years ago. Our little one, Luke, is 3 years old, and we currently live together as a family of 3. Initially, things were great between Joseph and me. We met on a blind date, and I was attracted to him for his job at a good company and his cheerful personality. We hit it off and started dating immediately, leading to our marriage a year later. In the early days of our marriage, Joseph was kind and supportive. He helped out with household chores and made our anniversaries and my birthdays special. Unfortunately, as time passed, his behavior changed, and he started treating me disrespectfully. At first, I tried to reassure myself that it's common for feelings to change over time in a marriage, but his behavior became too distant. He'd ask why I hadn't ironed his shirt and expected everything ready when he woke up. Taking care of Luke was tough, and I wished he'd handle his own clothes since he's not a child. He'd insist I obey him, claiming he provides for our comfortable life. To me, he acts like an immature husband, angry when things don't go his way. Bar's behavior started after Luke's birth, making it hard to consider divorce. I still have a problem. Joseph barely contributes to our budget. Despite earning $3,300, he allocates only $700 to our family, spending the rest on personal interests. It's insufficient, and we can't plan for retirement or Luke's education. Joseph insists it's enough and won't listen to my pleas. I've tried persuading him for our son's future, but he ignores me, leading to constant fights. He complains about my housework, but it's impossible to manage with just $700. To make ends meet, I cook small portions with cheap ingredients. I'm desperate for Joseph to understand and contribute more, but he remains unresponsive. It's usual to have the same dish often, but Joseph criticizes me, calling me a useless wife who can't cook. Our relationship soured, and I endured it until Luke turned 3. One evening, he got a high fever and I rushed him to the hospital. The ER was busy and we had to wait. When the doctor finally saw us, Luke got medicine and we went home. I took care of Luke, feeling relieved but exhausted. When Joseph came home, he demanded dinner right away. I apologized and was about to cook when he accused me of thinking he's an idiot for not having dinner ready. I was taken aback, trying to explain, but he continued to criticize. I apologized, but Luke had a high fever, so we went to the hospital. That's why I haven't had dinner yet either. I tried to explain calmly to avoid a fight, but Joseph wouldn't listen. His response was, "I couldn't care less if you haven't eaten. Just make sure my dinner is ready." I was shocked and told him about Luke's sudden fever. However, he insisted he was in charge and should be the priority. I couldn't ignore it. I said, "How can you say that? As a parent, you should value your own child above all else. Why can't you understand that?" Joseph responded unbelievably, stating that the one bringing in money is the greatest, making himself the top priority. At that moment, something snapped in me. I had hoped for Joseph to return to his kind self, but it seemed futile. He prioritized money over our child. I decided to leave. Joseph told me to get out, claiming I couldn't live without his salary. I agreed and said I would eat out. He suggested going to my parents' house to cool off. He left, thinking I was a weak housewife who couldn't do anything. I decided to show him what I'm capable of. While Joseph was away, I packed my bags. Luke still had a fever, so I waited until he felt better. I prepared to leave whenever I had the chance and took care of Luke in the meantime. The next day, Luke's fever had gone down and he was still sleeping in the morning. After dressing him, I went to the kitchen for breakfast and ran into Joseph on his way to work. He smirked, asking why I hadn't left yet, claiming I couldn't afford to. He mocked me for being a jobless housewife. His words angered me, and I wondered how he became so horrible. In our dating days and early marriage, he was at least a bit kinder and considerate. While contemplating this, my son woke up hungry but feeling better. After breakfast, Luke looked much better, so I decided to leave that day. I called my parents for a car pickup, and by mid-afternoon, we were at their house. Entering, I felt weak and almost fainted. My parents were concerned, asking if I was okay. I admitted trying to be strong throughout, protecting ourselves. My parents expressed shock at how much Joseph had pushed me around, realizing it was worse than mere harassment. "Hey, Grandpa, let's have some fun together." "Oh, absolutely. How about we go grab some tasty snacks?" "Snacks sound amazing right now." Dad took Luke out so I could take a break. "You should rest and lie down," Mom said, handing me some blankets. I thanked her and settled into my blankets, drifting into a peaceful nap. When I woke up a few hours later, it was already evening, and a delightful aroma filled the air. Turns out, Mom was busy cooking dinner. On the dining table, there was a colorful spread of dishes, all looking incredibly delicious. Luke, with excitement in his eyes, exclaimed, "It looks so tasty." Mom's cooking was so fantastic that it brought both physical and emotional satisfaction. "Feel free to stay as long as you need. Your focus should be on relieving stress," my parents kindly advised me. I felt like a huge burden was lifted from me. 2 weeks went by quickly as I took it easy. Then, out of the blue, Joseph showed up at my parents' place. Dad, staring at the intercom, asked, "What do you want to do?" I replied, "I don't want to see him yet." "Okay, head to the back," Dad said, handling Joseph himself. Despite Joseph's insistence on meeting me, Dad adamantly refused, and eventually, Joseph gave up and left. Later, when Dad filled me in, Joseph never brought up an apology. I believe he came over a week later because he couldn't manage the household on his own, and things were getting messy. But that's no longer my concern. I hope he realizes how challenging household chores can be. I mean, he used to help me with the chores, so he just needed to recall what he did before. I think he just forgot because he's not accustomed to doing it. On my way back to my parents' house, I blocked Joseph's number, making the only way for him to talk to me in person. I avoided returning to the bar and stayed at my parents' house with Luke. During that time, my husband tried visiting me several times, but Dad turned him away each time. Then 1 month passed since I left with Luke. Joseph was truly at his limit and desperately pleaded, "Please let me see your daughter, please," while bowing to my father. Sensing it was time for me to meet with him, I asked Dad to let Joseph through the living room to see him, with Luke being taken by my mom to wait in the back room. Joseph, who I hadn't seen in ages, appeared quite disheveled. His hair was messy and his clothes looked worn and grimy. Despite arriving after work in a suit, his jacket, pants, and shirt were so creased that it made me wonder if he had slept in them. "Camila, you've surely had your fill by now. Let's head home," were his first words upon spotting me after a prolonged absence. In that instant, my hope diminished further, and an impenetrable emotional barrier formed between us. Escaping from this person became my immediate priority. "I'm not sure what's on your mind. If you're not planning to speak up, fulfill your responsibilities as my wife," Joseph uttered, even with my father standing right beside me. My dad seemed quite surprised because Joseph echoed precisely what I had shared with Dad earlier. "Is that the extent of your response?" "Typically, an apology would be in order," I retorted. Joseph gazed at me with curiosity. "Why should I apologize to you when it was you who left me and neglected household responsibilities? I made an effort to reach out after you acted selfishly." Is he serious? I can't assist him if he maintains that mindset. If that's the case, there's nothing more I can do. Let's conclude our marriage. With that decision, I handed Joseph the divorce papers I had prepared upon returning to my parents' house. "Divorce? Why are you bringing this up out of nowhere? Don't be naive. Do you realize how much you've hurt and distressed me? If anything, I should have requested an earlier divorce from you. You rely on me to handle tasks you don't want to do, and you're not actively involved in raising our child. Additionally, your financial contribution to our family is quite minimal. Supporting a family of 3 on just $700 a month is incredibly challenging. Can't you see that? It seems like your priorities are mainly focused on yourself." Joseph appeared surprised, probably not anticipating my level of frustration. He argued that I'd been managing with what he's been contributing and even mentioned that the meals have been decent lately. Did he think I wasn't putting in any effort? "I've taken up remote work because the money you provide is insufficient." "Oh, really?" Realizing I needed to create a better environment for Luke, I actively sought a remote job. Eventually, I landed a position as an English teacher. Having lived in the U.S. as a child, I was fluent in English. My pronunciation wasn't far off from a native speaker, and I had a background in English literature from studying abroad at a university in Japan. It all seemed like a good fit. Upon starting my teaching job, I wanted to make learning English enjoyable, so I delved into Western movies and music. I decided to craft my teaching materials by collecting phrases useful in daily life. Knowing many English learners appreciate Western entertainment, I tailored my materials to each student's preferences. This approach resonated well with the students, and they began seeking my assistance. Consequently, I started earning a decent income. When asked about my earnings, I revealed it's around $3,000 per month. The surprising amount left the other person astonished. With this income, I pointed out that I no longer needed to rely on living together. Joseph was completely shocked by this revelation. He was surprised to find out that his wife, whom he thought was not as successful as him, was actually earning more than him. "Why do I suddenly feel so down?" he wondered aloud. His worries poured out. His coworkers were getting promotions ahead of him, and even those junior to him were progressing faster. He felt like everyone saw him as foolish, and to make things worse, his wife had a higher income. In response, he released a big sigh. "So what?" "Huh?" she asked. "Whether your salary is lower or higher than others around you doesn't matter. What's important is whether you and your family are happy. For Luke and me, your job title isn't significant. What counts is that you make time for your family and ensure you provide for them adequately. Don't you think so?" "I don't want you to harm me just to defend your fragile ego," he replied. "Hush!" she snapped. "A man needs to face challenges, and he shouldn't falter in doing so." At this moment, her father, who had been quiet, chimed in. "So, you're attempting to bolster your self-worth by unloading work stress onto my daughter. You invest heavily in your own interests and wardrobe to alleviate stress, all the while neglecting your family." Joseph looked uneasy in response to her father's remarks. She stressed to her daughter, "As a husband and father, the most crucial role for you is to be the main support pillar of this family. Sadly, it appears you only prioritize yourself. I can't trust that man with the well-being of my precious daughter and grandchild any longer. Please sign the divorce papers and leave." My dad was visibly upset, trying to control his anger in front of me, but he reached his breaking point. Joseph, fearing my angry dad, signed the divorce papers. He quickly apologized and left, bringing an abrupt end to our marriage. Later, I heard from a mutual friend that Joseph is spreading rumors about me, claiming he left because I was a lousy and useless wife. However, his colleagues at work are well aware of his true nature and dismiss his false narrative. No one wants a person like Joseph as their boss, so he remains stuck in the same position without any promotion for years. A new colleague once mocked him for not being promoted despite his age, insinuating he couldn't handle his job. Joseph left embarrassed, and it seems that once a person develops a twisted personality as an adult, it's challenging to change. I decided to raise Luke with love and care, hoping he'd become an honest child by using good examples and not following the bad behavior of Joseph. Luke now smiles at me with an adorable and carefree expression, showing no signs of turning into someone like Joseph. To safeguard his wonderful smile, I am committed to working hard every day. Joseph, in contrast, is foolish, ruining others' happiness to protect his own fragile ego. I'm relieved that Camila managed to divorce Joseph swiftly. Otherwise, both she and Luke might have faced difficulties. I'm confident that with Camila's income, she can successfully manage as a single mother and provide a good life for Luke.